Welcome to The Driver's Line. I'm Greg.
And I'm Jordan.
And today we have a conversation for you.
That's right. Today's conversation brings us to our friends at Top Gear, which is, I think, everyone's entry into the automotive world at this point, because they are fantastic.
It's Top Gear and Grand Tour.
And Grand Tour, that's right.
Don't want to leave out the Amazon show where they all fled to.
That's right.
Yep.
So we are selecting some of our favorite special cars from those episodes. So Greg is picking one car from each person. I have two call-outs that were done by the entire team over at Top Gear and Grand Tour.
So I'm going to go ahead and kick us off, and we're going to go ahead and kick off with arguably the leader of the show, Jeremy Clarkson. I have touched on this car before in our favorite Star Cars episode, so I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail here since you guys have heard it before, but I am talking about the MFB.
Can't say what it stands for.
Can't say what it stands for because this is a family show.
Yeah.
But when they did the Madagascar special, they were hunting a pirate's treasure. Jeremy needed something that was going to go overland, but of course, being Jeremy Clarkson, he also wanted something that he was comfortable in, that had air conditioning, massaging seats, and all the comforts of his country, England home. So he, of course, went with the Bentley Continental GT and then modified it into the MFB, which is just essentially like the genesis of the safari vehicles that we've kind of seen the resurgence from, with Porsche with the Dakar and Lamborghini, of course, with the Storado.
Yeah, he kind of beat him to it in that. And I mean, with a platform mate, nonetheless, right? Yes. So Bentley gets one, so too. I think he did a great job with it. It's one that's like almost funny, but it's actually really serious at the same time.
I know.
Right?
It's hilarious to see this Bentley wading through mud and climbing hills and doing all this stuff, but it also worked really, really well.
Butt.
Yeah.
And he was super comfortable.
Super comfy. I mean, Hammond was outside fixing that Focus RS every 5 minutes because he was an idiot and put tracks on it. And then, we had May, who was in the caterum. It was just getting covered with poop-soaked mud. And he was sitting there in the air conditioning.
That's the way to go.
It is the way to go. That's how I want to overland.
It's a smart man right there.
Smart man.
All right. Well, going from a smart man to a smart van.
Oh, bad guy. I knew it.
I had to. I couldn't stay away. So many good van choices. I was kind of almost tempted by the Renault van that they modified into a convertible.
Yes.
But it really was just a disaster. But I think a convertible van would be interesting.
And I don't know if the Renault Espace, right? What counts as a van, but isn't that the one they were trying to make as fast as an Evo?
Oh, yeah. So, lots of van history with Top Gear. But the van I chose is one that I think could still work if we had a third revision of it, and this is the Hover Van.
The Hover Van.
Yeah, so there was the first iteration of it did not have enough power to really get it moving anywhere and failed pretty badly. But the Hover Van 2 featured, I kid you not, a 600 horsepower Radical engine powering its turbofan. So it had power. So they revised that really easily. The problem was it had too much power, and they couldn't control it. And ended up ramming into, I think, one person in a boat who fell over into the river, and it just caused chaos wherever it went. But I think it was a really cool concept because vans have a ton of space.
Yeah.
And we could transport stuff from one side of the river to another it was such a fun episode to watch. And I really loved watching them get onto each other over the choices that were made because they could not control that thing at all. It was a mess.
Wasn't a fair portion of the space in the van taken up by a motor?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's all right.
You can put stuff on top of the van. It's okay.
We'll find some space for it. There's always space in a van.
Yes. Always space in a van. The man with a hover van. Yes, good choice.
Yeah.
That was a fun episode.
I love the hover van episode, yeah.
All right. My next one is near and dear to both Jordan and my hearts because it is the camping episode. Since we recently went camping with our Porsches, the Top Gear boys back in the day wanted to invent better RVs. Mm-hmm. And so I was a huge fan of what James May did in this episode because he took a 1987 Lotus XL, which is a great wedge-shaped Lotus sports car, and then he put the tiniest little capsule on the roof and called that his RV. It could fit a sleeping bag. It had an escape chute. It even had a tiny little potty in it, and he had a little articulating section that opened up to give him the headspace to sit on the throne.
I do believe he had to make some modifications to it at one point.
He had to make modifications because the escape chute, wasn't wide enough for his girth. and he got stuck.
It was that. I think that's a really smart idea, though.
I think
Honestly.
it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you need like a little bit more width, and like if you could like have the whole thing articulate to like
Yeah.
just expand like a modern RV does
Yeah.
with the lifting roof.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, there are versions of this nowadays that they have for Porsches. They're on offer, but not quite as endearing as this one, I would say.
No.
Not really.
And especially with the flaps that came down the side, covered up his fuel cap. And he had no way to put gas in it.
That's another modification that had to be
So
made.
a little modification, but you know what?
Hey.
We iterate. We're like Tesla. We iterate and we get better.
I would like to give just a shout out in that episode, though, to Jeremy's
Oh,
Renault.
I know.
Because when that thing came on screen, I was like, what
I know.
is that?
The Japanese Zen hotel
The
garden,
three-story
whatever, yes.
Garden.
Oh my
It was
God,
insane.
that was a mess. And he had
townhouse on wheels.
he had the air suspension, so he could go underneath.
Hilarious. Hilarious. Eventually tipped over the cliff.
And of course it did, and fell over it at night when they were sleeping.
Oh my gosh,
because
yeah.
of how top it
What a
was.
mess. All right, so sticking to the comical because I like the ones that are
It's
funny.
all comical.
I know. That's true. That's true. I know. Even the Bentley is kind of comical. I'm not gonna lie. This one, when I watched this episode, I just literally laughed from beginning to end because I think a lot of us have some frustrations when we see elderly folk on the road who really shouldn't be.
Yes.
All right. And we need to take care of those people, right? So the guys at Top Gear felt like, you know what? These folks need a ride too. Let's make a vehicle designed for them. And so they came up with the Rover. Of course, it's got to be a Rover.
It's going to be a Rover.
James.
The James.
Named after James.
Named
Ridley.
after the most fitting Top Gear member,
Yes.
James May.
So this is a modified Fiat Multiplo. Okay. It came in basically the beigest beige possible. So, I believe they referred to it as like the color of a prosthetic. So if you kind of think about that,
Yes.
it had giant bus mirrors off the front of it, so that
So
you
you
could
could see, yes, and you didn't have to like try to squint to a small mirror. Makes sense.
a nice squishy front bumper because
You're
you know
gonna
we hit things.
Yeah, we're gonna hit things. We know we're gonna hit things.
we might hit some stuff. But my favorite feature on it was a nav system. And the nav system only had 3 locations. Home, the bingo parlor, and the post office. Says, what else do you need, right, as elderly folk? Another really standout feature in that car, they tore out the fancy multiple seats and replaced them with nice, tall, comfortable wingback
Yeah, I
chairs.
know.
And
Just
they
so
were
you're
nice
sitting
and cushy back there.
Yeah, just like you're sitting at your home
Yeah.
enjoying a fine book.
I mean, who else is, besides Buick, aiming at the old folk market? I mean, no one else is doing that, right?
I didn't think Buick would say they're doing that.
I know,
anymore,
that's
frankly.
true. They're like, no,
we make young,
please stop.
We make young hip SUVs,
It's
guys.
not us. It's not us.
That's all we make.
So I think that was a hilarious episode. And at the end of it, it ended up self-destructing because it went down the wrong way down the road. So there you go. It even has us in mind. So,
Oh, that's a good choice. I loved
love
the
that.
James.
I love the Rover
I know.
James.
And that color.
yes.
Oh, the beigest of beige. Well, my last one is a Richard choice.
Okay.
And so Richard actually made 2 of these over the course of his time on Top Gear.
Hmm.
And so I am talking about the Amphibious Car Challenge. And so Richard, every time he made a vehicle for adventure, it almost always had all the comforts of home. He always wanted to cook. He always had some sort of cooking system in almost every vehicle he made.
Yes.
And so he needed something that was kind of like a leisure boat or a houseboat. And so what is the best platform for that?
A van.
A van!
Of course.
A resident van guy. He used the Volkswagen
That's
Transporter T3.
Yeah.
Now, the first one was not great. So he basically that's when they got to go into a lake. Basically went straight into the lake and started sinking. Because it weighed, I think he said, like 5,000 pounds.
Yeah.
The thing
So
was
still less than an M5.
extremely heavy. Yeah, still less than the new M5. But still extremely heavy. M5 is going to sink too.
Yeah.
And so he revised the second one for when they were going to go across the channel. And it didn't do a whole lot better. But he had some unique features on this boat because he actually coupled the propeller straight to the drive shaft.
Yeah.
Or the crankshaft, rather. And so that was a really interesting piece of engineering to try and make that happen. not a great idea because you've got the propeller going down the road. But if you could have had some sort of clutch system to engage and disengage it, that might have actually been something kind of neat to do.
Sure.
And again, it's air cooled, so you don't have to worry about water cooling. Just a really unique van, and I thought, it's something. None of these are going to be built for speed, right? Because these are going to be amphibious vehicles. Absolutely. They're not going to be good on the road. They're not going to be good in the water.
Yeah,
it's kind of the nature of an amphibious vehicle. But it would just be a comfortable pleasure cruiser if he could have actually just made it float. Yeah. So the problem is the second one
close to perfection.
The second one broke and then sank in the channel. So unfortunate that happened. And then they of course famously all went across the channel in Jeremy's
Toyota.
Second Toyota, yes, which I think was actually a Nissan Frontier the second time. But
yeah, that's right.
It's all good.
Something.
But either way, super fun episodes of their amphibious car challenges.
Absolutely. I love those. Those are some of my favorites for sure. So let us know what your favorite Top Gear
we're interested to hear what yours are because I'm sure we missed some. We're just digging back in our favorite memories of Top Gear and the Grand Tour. So let us know in the comments what was your favorite.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed our countdown here.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us on The Driver's Line.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss a thing.